Hello, this is Jim and Ben with DC Digital, and today we're demonstrating a new product that we're using on our network clock systems. And it basically is a DC-Web Server 1 and pulls all your clocks together onto one web page. Ben has developed this to respond to and let you, it's more of an information and let you know where the status of all your clocks on all of the DC digital clocks, all your DC digital network clocks on your system stand. Normally, you could get our clock, like say you just want to buy individual clocks without the web server. They would give you a response back if they're connected to the NTP server. So our components are NTP server, we have a PoE switch, and we have the DC-Web Server 1 that Ben has wrote the program on that pulls all the clocks together. But normally, if you buy just an individual clock, it would connect to the NTP server and refresh the time and keep it atomic. The setup for this is in a previous video, and you can go through that. We're going to go through a little bit more on that in a minute. But what happens is if you lose your NTP server, it would give you an error on the display. So you're going to get a flashing LED here, and you're going to get a failure on your web page. Each individual clock has its own web page. It's reporting back to the server and pulling it up to the new web page that he's developed. So basically, I've disconnected the NTP server, and we're getting the flash, but we're still getting accurate time. It's keeping time on its own, and failure on your web page for your individual clock. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect the NTP server. This is our server that we sell on our website. It's a GPS, so it's totally independent from everything. The GPS is, so you would put that in the window or outside, so it would gather the GPS satellite information and then put it directly onto your server right here. If you wanted a closed system, you could do that. You could independent of your network on your any other network. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and have Ben introduce the DC-Web Server 1 with the page that gathers all your clocks together on one page. So I'm going to go ahead.
Okay. So you've covered the server. These two are stainless steel flush mount 4-inch clocks. These two are powder coat finish flush mount 2.3-inch clocks. And normally, to access and change any configuration on any one clock, you would have to know the IP of that clock and then go to that IP address for that clock, make your changes, and then you'd have to type in the IP address for this clock and go to that clock and make your changes. And so what we've done here is we've brought all those clocks together into this box, which saves their IP addresses for you.
And saves you from having to go to each individual clock and see what the status is of them.
Correct.
Where they're at in their gathering the time.
When this first starts up and has no IP addresses registered.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in there and get closer.
Sure.
To what you're doing. So this is the meat and potatoes of it all right here, what he's come up with. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom it in. So we got it. Okay.
So we have 8 clocks here. 4 of them are inside this room right there connected to that switch. 4 of them are in our manufacturing area connected to another switch on our network. They are all pointing to this NTP server, and they're all reporting back to this NTP server, or to this web server. Yes.
Yeah. that we've developed.
When you first power up the web server and you pull up its page, it'll tell you need to register its IP addresses. So you click System Setup,
Which is that middle.
which is up here at the top. System Setup, and then you have to type in IP addresses, and then you can give them each device a human name, like meeting room,
Yeah,
conference room,
yeah.
lunchroom, production area 1, oven room, formulation room, etc.
What's new also with what we've got with this model here is that they can get, access their router, and they can see the individual clocks on their router too, so they can identify what IP address they are. And each one has its own MAC address that gives you that can be viewable on your router, so you don't have to download our IP setup software anymore.
Correct. So I was going to go into that once I get into the pages
Okay,
of
sorry.
the devices, but yes, we've made some updates not only to the Web Server 1 and created that product, but we've also made some updates to the individual clocks to give more information and provide better feedback as a system.
So this is the page you go to enter all the clocks on your system so that it can appear on your DC-Web Server 1
Homepage.
web page.
Yeah.
Homepage. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the page to set up your Web Server 1 as far as network and password. So you would go here and you can change this information.
And give it your...
Assign it, configure it to your network.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once you've done those two things, for each named device, you get a preview window of that device, and it contains the current time, when it last synchronized with the NTP server,
Go ahead and zoom in
and
on that.
when it last attempted, if it was a success. So if it synchronized at 15:16:29, that's 3:16 and 29 seconds p.m., and its last attempt was a success. So maybe it didn't. Maybe its last 5 or 6 attempts were a failure, and now it's an hour past its last time it synchronized. You know that the clock has been drifting for an hour. Okay, it'll still report the current time. So as long as it's relatively close to your system time, you're good. You're coasting just fine. But for FCC requirements, FDA requirements, that may be a factor in how you report your information to the FDA, which is the genesis of this project, is to give better information and more accurate and recordable information to our FDA customers.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and back out.
We're not done yet.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So now I'm going to go into one of the clocks. So the other benefit of this system is that you can go into any one of these clocks. And this is test 7. Okay. So I'm going to go into test 7. Okay. And you get all the information that you would normally on the home page of test 7 individually. You get right here in this window.
But you can just click on that test 7 or whatever you named it, conference room or lunchroom or whatever, and just click on that.
Yep.
And then it goes directly to the web page that this serves up to the DC-Web Server 1.
Yes. So you can also change the configurations here, whether you want it 12 or 24 hour, where you want it to point to, what time zone you're in, etc. And you can change your username and password. If you do change your IP configuration, specifically your IP address of this clock, for any reason, which you have registered with this Web Server 1, you will need to come back in here and change that IP address manually in here for it to continue working correctly.
That's under the system settings.
Right, so you need to go back to the home page, system setup, in order to be able to change that IP address here manually also, and then once you've done that, it's back to good. If you make a change to, let's say you change it from 12 to 24 hour, you hit submit, it updates, and it says updated to let you know that it did receive that information, and here shortly we should see that one click over to 24-hour mode as it received
I think it's important to mention too that when you can set the individual clock up to have the time updated. Default is once every minute. it goes and gets the NTP time. But you can have it up to
1800.
1800 minutes.
Yep. So you can.
So that's.
If you're using a public server, once a minute might be considered a DOS attack. So you would want to set it according to the permission that you have for the NTP server. If you're hosting your own server, you can pull it as frequently as you want to, or as infrequently as you want to. And you do that right here in this update interval window, which we've covered in another video. But you can access all of the configuration settings here in this page, and then quickly navigate back. Once you've made the change, you can quickly hit return to system home and navigate back to your home page, and you can go into one of the other clocks and continue operation.
So everybody's successful. Everybody's able to get to the NTP server. So what's it look like if the server goes down? Let's say they can't. The NTP server goes down, I should say.
So the NTP server goes down, or simply tells us that we're looking at the wrong thing or whatever. Our last attempt will say network error.
So
here.
I'm going to go ahead and simulate that.
Yeah.
And that won't show up on these. Are all these pointing to this NTP server?
7 is not right now.
7's not?
I'll change it to that.
So the default is NIST.gov is our default.
Correct. That's where we send all the clocks by default, and we meet their permission requirements. And
so we send them all DHCP and NIST.gov, so that when you get the clock, you can just plug it right into your network. If your network is allowing you to go out, it automatically updates. So you take it out of the box, you plug it in. If it's a PoE, you need the PoE powered injector and everything, and it should come right up within a minute or two.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the NTP server from the system. I'm going to remove its Ethernet line. Okay.
Each one of these web pages is coded to refresh itself once a minute. You can refresh it more frequently by yourself by hitting F5, or if that's the command for your browser, or coming over here to your refresh command, or right-clicking and choosing refresh from your context menu. However you refresh the page.
But that's something that the web server is programmed for. It's programmed for 1 minute all the time.
Right. These individual pages auto-refresh once per minute.
Once every minute. But the clocks themselves can be set up for 1 minute to 1800 to refresh their own time of day.
Time of day, right.
Yes. Yeah. Just want to make sure that's clear.
I'm saying that if you're just simply standing here and watching and you happen to glance over and you see network error, and you fix that network error because you go over and you plug that router back in, or whatever.
Let me do that.
They will correct on themselves. They will
so it'll show. See, that one there is already, they're all flashing now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back on. So they're indicating, like they would if you would buy them individually, also they're indicating on the web server page.
Right. Now these may not be as responsive as the clocks. The clocks will get the dot as soon as they fail. These pages individually refresh once per minute. And that is simply because if we refreshed all the time in real time, this page would
Okay, I want to zoom in
flicker
and show the actual showing that it's failed. So we have network error.
Yep.
And then in a minute here, they'll refresh.
Yeah, I would focus on this one here because it's the only one that may not have refreshed since the time you plugged it in.
Okay.
So we'll watch it here for a minute, and you'll be able to see that it'll go from network error back to success.
Okay. And that is test 2. Okay, so that's out in the work area. That's on the manufacturing.
Okay. So all of the ones in this room have already synchronized with the server. And it will just be a moment. And there you have it.
Okay.
It auto-refreshed, and now we have the current time, which is the same as down here.
Current time, and we have the current time, which is what's reflecting on the display. Last updated, and then which is this date, and then the actual time that it was programmed for to go out, and then we have success. So it's cool.
I should say that current time is a better reflection of what is on the display, 12 or 24-hour mode. So if you change that to 24-hour mode in the settings, this will report current time in 24-hour mode. Last attempt, or the last synchronized, is always going to be local time and military time, and that's just for confusion, to avoid confusion if you're trying to troubleshoot something
Okay.
on the network.
Now, what happens if the actual clock gets like wire break, or the actual clock itself, you know, the Ethernet cord or something happens to it, and you get a network fracture from on an individual clock basis?
So if an individual clock goes down, the individual clocks are hosting these web pages, right? So the individual clock goes down. If you could pull one of those network connections.
I'll see. I'll pull 8,
Okay.
because that's the one that's right here. Close it. So I'll go ahead and pull
Okay,
it
so
off.
if 8 goes down, when this page goes to auto refresh, or if I manually refresh it, either way, they will try to pull that device. It won't get an answer from that device. So this page will go gray here in just a second. The gray is a property of my browser. It's simply an indication that there is nothing there. So
And also, well, these are PoE, so there's getting the power from. It's also getting the power from the what's this? The switch, and if it wasn't getting the power, it would continue to keep the time, and then flash up here. So
right. If it was
it would. It has an internal. Its
if
own
it was
internal.
otherwise powered.
Okay,
and,
so there it is. It's gone now.
yeah,
It's showing a
broken
what
link.
is it? A little smiley face or sad face with page. So
Yeah.
a gray page. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna,
Now that page can look differently depending on if you're using Chrome or Firefox or Mozilla
Depends on
or
your
whatever,
browser.
but you'll get something there that indicates a broken link because that's down.
okay, so I'll go ahead and plug it back in.
This broken link page doesn't auto refresh itself. Once it's down, it's down. It doesn't come back up by itself, so you have to refresh the page after you fix the broken link in order to get it back. And there we have it.
So once you've fixed the link, you have to refresh your page. Okay.
Yep.
And that's come back up. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show the ones in the manufacturing, you know, and it should resemble everything that we have here, and it will. They will. So I'm gonna go ahead. And it's because I want to show you these because we have 8 there on the actual video or on the actual computer. We have 8 that we're displaying, and it's these 4 and the other 4 in the video room. So, and these are showing, these are stainless steel here, and we have one other one that's just aluminum enclosure. But these are all showing the same time as those. So I just wanted to make sure that we have 8. We only can set up 4 in there, and then we have 4 out here that we have on our test rack. And just kind of wanted to give you heads up on that. So we'll head back in there. Ben asked me to show you this. This is the order. I think it's 32 that's going on this specific system. So he wanted me to make sure you knew that. Here's some more clocks that we're doing for another job. It's one of the workbenches here. It's one of the ladies there that works on. That's Liz. That works on the. Go back in here. Works on the circuit boards. So anyways, brings us back to here. Just to recap, what we've come up with is a web server, DC-Web Server 1, which is this black box here, pulls all the network clocks together, puts them on a single web page that you can view and see the status of those clocks anytime, anywhere on your network, and shows you exactly where they're at and keeps them all together.
This does, right now, as a standard product, it has the ability to track 50 different system devices. If that number needs to change for your particular application, that's an easy change to make.
Okay, very good. This is Ben and Jim with DC Digital, and we're introducing this new product, the DC-Web Server 1 Webpage Server. Thank you.